Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
So tell me about buyer's choice. Tell me about your business. Tell me about why people use your company services.
Sure. So anybody that's looking to buy or sell a house, predominantly people who are buying a house will use us to get that house checked out, to find out if there's any major structural issues, anything they're not aware of, because they can look around a house and see most of the cosmetic defects, but any of the hidden defects, if there's weather tightness issues, that sort of thing, we'll come and find those for them so they can make an informed decision when they're purchasing. The other reason is if you're selling, you might get a report from us and make it available to buyers so that then they don't have to pay money for every property that they're interested in.
So what is the kind of norm? Would someone who sells the house organize a report, or would it be someone who buys the house organize a report? What do you see often?
At the moment, it's predominantly people who are buying will call us for an inspection.
Okay.
That over time will switch around and it will become more homeowners like in America and other countries.
I see. What about who are your prospective clients? So you're saying that people who buy houses, right? So they would, and does it mean that they have to contact you to organize it?
Generally, they just give us a call or contact us through our website.
But that's, I guess it can be kind of messy, right? Because I mean, if I'm buying a house and that's you who's going to come and check the house, I have to then discuss it with the owner how it can be done, or is it you who's going to do it?
So generally they will just call us and book the inspection.
Okay, and what is unique about your business?
So unique, so we are a very professional franchise system, so rather than just being a one-man band builder who's decided that they might do a few inspections on the side, our one business is home inspections. So we have training, we're a franchise that's come out of Canada and America, now in New Zealand. So it's all about that professionalism, the qualification, certification, and most importantly the insurance. So.
Okay, let's talk about insurance later, okay? So what about the house itself? Let's say, what is a house inspection? What is checked? Can you?
Pretty much everything that you can think of. So we turn up on site and we'll start at the driveway, we'll check the fences, retaining walls, we'll come up to the house, we'll check the foundations, we'll go underneath if possible. Sometimes it's just a concrete slab, so you can't do that obviously, but so we go inside the crawl space, we'll go underneath the wet areas like the kitchen, laundry, bathrooms to check for any leaks and everything like that. We will go up into the roof space as well, full moisture testing throughout the whole home, so inside, so we'll check all the bathrooms and kitchens for sealants, all the the stove, we'll check all the different bits in the kitchen and the bathroom and everything like that, and then on the outside we'll also check the cladding, we'll check for penetration seals, the type of cladding, any risk factors, and then we'll also look at the roof to see what type of roof is it, are there any issues, the normal types of things that might come up. We'll look at roof to wall junctions, make sure there's no areas where moisture can penetrate and be potential problems. If we do find moisture inside with our meter, we'll then go outside and see if we can find a potential cause. Most often we can find something, but sometimes there can be sort of hidden reasons, and then you need a licensed building practitioner to come in and sort of do further investigation.
So in your work you have someone who is buying a house and paying money to you for your services, and you have someone who, the owner of the house, right? So straight away you have a conflict of interests, meaning that, let's say, the person who actually has the house would want your report to be the best. Realistically, the person who is buying the house would want to have exactly the same report. What would happen if, let's say, there is a problem in the house? Do you acknowledge the fact, or are you saying that the house needs to be repaired? I mean, at what point of time do you kind of really stop and say, well, you know what, this is it?
So the most important thing from our perspective is, and it's all part of our International Association, is we're there to inspect and observe and report. We're not there to tell you what must be done and what mustn't be done. So we will come in and we'll say there's moisture in the kitchen, it's coming from the main kitchen tap that's leaking, or the dishwasher or something like that. It's an isolated plumbing leak. It has damaged the floor or hasn't damaged the floor, and then the homeowner and the buyer can decide what is to be done about that, if anything. So it might just be that the purchaser knows about it, so that when they settle and move in, they can fix it, or it might be that the homeowner says, hey look, we're happy to fix that. We'll do that for you before you move in. In Auckland's current market, people are generally fighting for property, so more often than not, they're just wanting to know what they're in for, rather than trying to use it as like a negotiation tool or a bargaining tool to say, well, we want you to do this before we move in.
On a scale of 1 to 100, how often would you see a problem with a house?
Most houses
Seriously?
have maybe not significant problems, but most houses have items on the sort of marginal and defective list at the beginning of the report. Some houses it is hard to find any defects, which is great. Those houses are often much easier to report on, so we like them. But on the other end of the scale, you might have say a 1920s villa that's never had any maintenance done, and so instead of having hardly anything on the list, you might have a huge list of defects.
So what should the client expect as a result of your inspection?
They should expect to go into a purchase being fully informed. So the majority of our clients are the purchaser. So basically they're getting us to inspect and report on what is at the property and what the potential defects are, or what the defects are. So they might, a major problem might be the piles are failing, and they either need to replace them now or in the near future. So that's quite a big cost, and they need to come in and be realistic about their purchase. You know, can they afford to fix them right now, or can they afford to fix them in 6 months' time? And then they can make a decision as to whether they proceed or not based on the information they get from us.
How long does it take to make an inspection on a house, typical New Zealand house, let's say 200 meters, right?
Yeah. So when Dwayne turns up on site, he'll be there for roughly an hour to 2 hours. It's usually not less than an hour, unless it's a small unit, that sort of thing. So, so it's very thorough. You generally can't do it in less than an hour. If an inspector does turn up and do it in less than an hour, then you should be sort of asking, you know, have they done their job correctly? Technically, you couldn't get everywhere underneath the house, do the full moisture testing, all the checks that you need to within the house in less than an hour, I would say. And then after that, he'll go away and write the report, and that will take another couple of hours to write that.
How big is the report usually?
Usually over 50 pages, depending on the size of the home. It could be significantly more or just over 50. Yeah.
And if you don't mind, what is, let's say, a bulk figure of, let's say, how much do you charge for inspection?
Yeah. Roughly 500 plus GST. That would be sort of for a 90 square metre to 150 square metre home. Smaller than that, it could be slightly less, say 400, 450 plus GST.
And if the house is bigger?
550, 600.
But
we have done some.
Can it be negotiated at the beginning, meaning that, let's say, you usually ask questions about what is the property and so on, and you provide them maybe?
Before we go on site.
Okay, yes. I see. So the next question I have for you is, do you have your own website?
Yes.
Do you have a form which allows people to complete a talk? Do you call them, and how do you actually communicate with your clients?
Sure. Through the website.
Through the website, or let's say, how do they find you?
Yeah. So they can just go onto the website. There is a contact us link where they can put in details, their phone number, email address. They can say how they'd like to be contacted, and we'll just call back or email through with the information they require. There is a booking section at the back of our website. We're at the end of our website too, where they can book an inspection. Usually it needs to be sort of approved by us before it will go ahead, so we'd need to be in contact anyway.
And website is the best way of getting in touch with you, right?
That, or just calling straight through to Dwayne. He's the most onto it as to when he can book you in.
Okay.
Secondly, call myself, email either of us.
So is it him who is deciding when he's going, or is it you who tells him when he's going?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
What about when and how long does it take for the client to get the report?
Generally 24 hours. So if we were there this morning at 10 a.m,
Yes.
the client could expect to have their report the following morning by 10 a.m.
That's excellent. That's very good service. Very good service. And what would you say people need to know about home inspections before they're going to use someone? If you were just in a position to recommend something straight away.
Number one would be that they need somebody qualified as a home inspector,
Yes.
not just a qualified builder. So somebody who actually has a home inspection qualification or building inspection qualification. Number two would be the right insurance, professional indemnity rather than just general liability, something that's going to protect them into the future. So perhaps the inspector makes a major mistake, doesn't notice something 2 years down the track, that comes back, and the client can know that they're protected by the insurance, that if there is a major problem that's been missed or they've made a mistake, then they will be covered.
So this is why you do need professional indemnity cover, right?
Yeah.
How often would you be asked about it? Let's say, do people actually know that they have to make their decision on the basis of that as one of the points?
Not that often, I
Not
would
at
say. It's one of the recommendations from the REAA, the Real Estate Agents Authority, that any real estate agent should check that the inspector coming to inspect the property that they're selling should have professional indemnity insurance, and of course that should be for home inspections or building inspections rather than just professional indemnity insurance as a builder, because that type of insurance needs to be specific for the inspection.
Yes.
You can't just have professional indemnity to be a builder, because you're not actually there as a builder. You're there to advise and give advice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very happy with that. Thank you very much, Sarah. Now we know what we're going to advise our clients with.